Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and man, I really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel and spending some time with me on the video. Always appreciate that. Guys, today we're going to be talking about probably my favorite way to catch bass over 4 pounds in the month of June, and that is by throwing a big deep diving crankbait. This is the time of year to throw it, without a doubt. 100% June is the best month to throw a deep diving crankbait. So we're going to sort of give you guys a good foundational little seminar here on what you need to look for, how you need to fish it, type of structures. It's going to add up to some good fish for you guys over the next month. I'm pretty confident there. Also, guys, just a quick invitation to if you haven't had a chance to click that subscribe button. If you guys, right now, we've only got 40% of the people that watch the videos are subscribed. And if you hit that subscribe button and like the videos and hit that notification, that's a good way to support the channel. So I really appreciate that. Okay, guys. Out of all, I'd probably say out of the last, I started deep cranking back in the early 90s down at Grand Lake. I sort of developed that technique really early on before it got popular with a couple other anglers over there. You got to remember back then that wasn't a thing. There were some guys like Paul Elias that had some success kneeling and reeling, deep cranking. But what I'm talking about is deep cranking with the modern era type of deep diving crankbaits on hard structure. I don't think there's any technique that I've ever fished that I haven't caught more 4-pound bass, average 4 to 5 pound bass, than on a deep crankbait in the month of June here. Now, talk a little bit about why that is. There's a window of time when they will bite a deep diving crankbait, and that window, from my experience, is pretty small. Now, you can catch them any time of the year on it, but as far as where it really excels, it's in that post-spawn period. It's like 2 or 3 weeks after the fish are completely done spawning, which is usually first or second week of June. What you have in that is you got those bigger post-spawn females will move out to those hard structure areas. And when I'm talking about hard structure, I mean like on drop-offs, and like if you go out on a main point and it drops off, or a river ledge or a rock pile, some type of hard structure where you can bounce that deep diving crankbait down. Those bigger females in the month of June will school in that zone of like 8 to maybe 20 foot of water, and they're in bigger schools in the month of June than they are any other time of the year. Now, what happens is after, the month of June is over, where it starts to get into July, you have some changes that take place that really disperse the fish out. You got some thermoclines that start appearing. You got, different oxygen level issues on the lake, and those fish that were using the bottom in, 10 to 20 foot of water in June, those same fish start suspending, and they start scattering out in different parts of the lake. But in the month of June is when you can really, really target them. Now, there's 3 different crankbaits that I like as far as my favorites. And also, guys, I'll link these on my Tackle Warehouse link in the description if you guys want to pick up some. But probably my favorite all-time deep diving crankbait is the old Norman DD22, guys. I've caught so many big ones on this. Something about this bait, it's a cheaply made bait. It's not expensive. The components are cheap on it, but there's something about it the fish really like. So this is my probably my favorite, backed up by the Bomber Fat-Free Shad, which is a narrower one. I really like this one. And the Megabass Deep X300, which is a little bit smaller one. This is more of a cleaner water type of a presentation. The Deep X300 has a little bit tighter wobble. So if I'm targeting like spotted bass or smallmouth or water visibility that's over like 4 foot, I'll use the Deep X300. Just a little bit more appealing in that cleaner water. But those are my 3 favorite ones. Colors are pretty much the same too. I like some type of a chartreuse, blue, or back if the water visibility is dirty. Not dirty, but if the water visibility is, say, like, less than 2 foot, or if on a cloudy, rainy day, this works really good. Also, early and late in the day, or if it's really windy, you'll find out a bright side works a little bit better. And as well, if you find a school of fish sitting on a piece of hard structure, the biggest fish will always hit the brightest crankbait. So I usually come in with a bright color right off the bat, and then I tone it down with a more subtle one, and go to more of a shad pattern like this. Now, the other one is the perch pattern, like on the Deep X300. The perch pattern is really, really good in cleaner water. Smallmouth love this. If you got a lake that's got smallmouth, really good color for smallmouth on there. So that's my 3 crankbaits. Most of the time I fish them on anywhere between 10 to 15 pound tests, Seaguar and VizX, and I fish it on that Megabass launcher rod. Again, I'll link everything in the description if you guys want to get set up with that. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about what you need to look for and how you want to, work the bait on this. In my opinion, there's two different scenarios where the deep cranking works good. It's either on main lake and secondary points or on some type of ledges or drop-offs. Now, the ledges or drop-offs can be subtle. Say for example, if you're out on a flat, just idling around off a flat, and you see a little bit of a break where it comes down like from 8 to 12 foot over a course of, 7 or 8 feet, that can be a really good area. If you get out on the end of a point, like a flat point with got secondary or main lake point, and it stays just gradually falling off, and then it drops faster off, bouncing that crankbait right on that drop off can be really good. And then of course your hardcore traditional river ledges, like you have like in your TVA lakes, or some of the lakes that, are old river type lakes that are flooded, where you actually have a drop off from a flat into the main river channel, right on that lip is gonna be a really good place to catch them on it. Another thing that I found out about deep cranking, guys, in the month of June is don't get hung up on the drop off. So say for example, you're looking at your depth finder and you see it dropping off from like 8 to 15 foot. Don't necessarily get focused on putting that crankbait right on that drop off. Try casting way up on the shallower part of it, on the flat, because I find in June, a lot of those big fish, they will not be on that drop off. They'll be up farther up on the flat. So I always like to cast, 30 or 40 yards up onto the flat, and I bounce it in that shallower water, and I catch a lot of good ones doing that. And most of the time, one of the big keys on this, guys, as far as catching fish on this, is when you're throwing a big crankbait, you've got to keep your speed up. So normally I'll throw it out there, I'll keep my rod tip straight at the lure, I don't put it at an angle, and I'm throwing a fast stop and go retrieve, just like that, boom. And I want to get that bait moving with a fast stop and go erratic retrieve. You're not going to catch many on a big crankbait in the month of June if you just use a slower medium retrieve. You got to speed it up and almost not really burn it, but you need to have it come into the boat pretty quick with that stop and go retrieve. It really adds up to a lot more strikes like that. Another thing with that, guys, is make sure, deep cranking, it's notorious for losing fish, because a lot of times the fish are nipping at that crankbait and they'll get one hook on it and they're hot, they come out of that deep water and they jump off. One of the things that I will tell you right off the bat is try to stay with a little bit smaller hooks. I know it's sort of counterintuitive, but if you use the larger hooks that have a larger diameter, you'll have a lot more difficult time getting those fish in the boat with the larger diameter, larger bite gap hook. So try to go down on the size a little bit. I've had a lot more success downsizing my hook than I have upsizing it. Makes a big difference on that. But the main thing, guys, is that this is a small window. We're talking, it's usually about 3 weeks. It's like when I start deep cranking out there, I'm talking about that water temperature needs to be probably in the low 70s. And like I said, once July gets here, it's about over. But this time of year, like right now, prime time to catch big ones, deep cranking. It works on a lot of different water clarities. I've caught them deep cranking on clear water lakes like Table Rock. I've caught them on dirty lakes like Grand Lake. You just have to adjust your depth. If you're fishing where you have water visibility of like less than 2 foot, concentrate on that 5 to 10 foot zone. And if you're in, water visibility of greater than 3 feet, you may want to concentrate on that, say, 10 to 20 foot zone. And a lot of these crankbaits, like I said, I'll link it in the Tackle Warehouse description, but you got a lot of them that run over 20 foot deep. I normally don't like that. I mean, I normally don't, need to get 20, like this Megabass Deep 6 right here. This thing will get over 20 foot deep on 10-pound line. Personally, I have found in my own deep cranking that magic zone is like 8 to 12 foot. I catch more big ones in 8 to 12 foot than I do about any depth zone out there. But anyway, guys, it's sort of a lost art. Ever since live scoping took off, you don't hear much about cranking hard structure with big crankbaits. But just try it, man. Just try it, in the first 3 weeks of June. Just go to your favorite lake that you go to, get on some flat points, get on some drop-offs, toss around some of these big crankbaits, and definitely think it's going to get some good ones for you guys. So hope it works out. We'll see y'all.